Indonesia. Say the name and most people picture the same thing. Rice terraces, temple gates, a sunset drink on a Bali cliff. And none of that is wrong, but it is dangerously incomplete. This is a country stitched together from 17,500 islands stretched across 5,000 kilometres of open ocean. So wide, it takes 12 hours to fly from one end to the other. Of those islands, only about 6,000 are inhabited. The rest belong to the sea, to the forest, to the volcanoes. And the volcanoes are the key. Indonesia sits at the collision point of 4 tectonic plates: Indo-Australian, Eurasian, Pacific and Philippine Sea, making it the most volcanically active nation on Earth. "127 active volcanoes, 13% of the world's total. The same tectonic violence that levels cities also builds the mountains tourists photograph. The same eruptions that bury villages create the soil that feeds them. Nothing here is one thing." Volcanic soil feeds 275 million people, the 4th largest population on the planet. But the eruptions that created that soil have been killing them for millennia. 700 living languages, over 1,300 ethnic groups. One national motto: Bhinneka Tunggal Ika, unity in diversity. It sounds like paradise. It is paradise. But every paradise here was paid for, and the price is still being collected. "74,000 years ago, on what is now the island of Sumatra, the Earth detonated. The Toba supereruption was the most powerful explosive event in human history. A blast rated VEI8, the highest category on the Volcanic Explosivity Index. It expelled 2,800 cubic kilometres of rock and ash into the atmosphere. To put that into scale, that is roughly 7,000 times the material ejected by Mount St. Helens. The ash cloud drifted west, blanketing India up to 6 metres deep, reaching as far as East Africa. Global temperatures plunged by 3 to 5 degrees Celsius. A volcanic winter descended on the planet. And for a time, the world went quiet. The Toba catastrophe theory suggests this single eruption nearly drove Homo sapiens to extinction. A genetic bottleneck so severe that the human population may have dropped to fewer than 10,000 breeding individuals. The species that would one day build cities and split atoms nearly ended here, on this island, before it had truly begun. What remains today is a lake. The world's largest volcanic lake, 100 kilometres long, 30 kilometres wide, deeper than most seas at 505 metres. Larger than the entire nation of Singapore. And at its centre sits Samosir Island, a geological paradox formed when magma pressure pushed the collapsed caldera floor upward after the eruption. An island within a lake within a volcano. The Batak people made this place their ancestral homeland. They built their houses on the rim of what nearly ended everything. Toba is still classified as active, one of only 20 supervolcanoes on Earth. Fumaroles still vent on Samosir. The most powerful eruption in the last 25 million years is not finished. The price of this paradise was almost the entire human race. But Toba was ancient. The volcanoes that rule Java are still at work. 40 kilometres from the cultural heartland of central Java, Mount Merapi rises. Its name translates simply Mountain of Fire. It erupts on average every 4 to 5 years. Its 2010 eruption killed almost 350 people. Its 1930 eruption killed over 1,300. Yet millions of Javanese farmers refuse to leave its slopes. Because the same ash that buries their villages creates some of the most fertile agricultural land on the planet. Farmers replant within weeks of each eruption. The ash is too rich to abandon. And Merapi has been collecting for a long time. Around 780 AD, in the valley below, builders began stacking volcanic stone. Two million blocks, no mortar, no cement. Over decades they raised Borobudur, the largest Buddhist temple on Earth. "35 metres high, 9 stacked platforms. 2,672 intricately carved relief panels, 504 Buddha statues gazing outward in every direction. A spiritual staircase from the world of desire to the realm of formlessness. Dozens of gargoyle-shaped waterspouts, makaras, were engineered into the stone galleries to channel monsoon rain. That drainage system still functions, 1,200 years later. Then it vanished. Volcanic ash, jungle, and time swallowed the temple whole. For centuries, Borobudur vanished. It wasn't until 1814 that a British colonial officer, Thomas Stamford Raffles, the same man who would later found Singapore, heard rumours from locals about a great monument in the jungle and ordered its excavation. The same volcano that created the soil for the builders also erased their masterpiece. And barely 50 kilometres away stood its rival. Prambanan, 240 Hindu temples, the largest Hindu complex in Indonesia, built in the same 9th century. Buddhist monument and Hindu monument, constructed within a single generation within walking distance. Whether this was spiritual coexistence or competition through architecture, no one knows for certain. Both were abandoned by the 10th century. Both were reclaimed by the jungle, by earthquakes, by tar. Borobudur's hidden base tells one more story. Beneath the temple's foundation lie 160 relief panels depicting worldly desires, deliberately sealed away by the original builders, hidden from the pilgrims ascending above. The sins were buried. The aspirations were displayed. And above it all, the mountain of fire kept watch. It still does. Further east, Java reveals a different face. Mount Bromo sits inside a caldera so vast it contains its own desert. The Tengah Sand Sea, 10 kilometres of grey volcanic ash stretching in every direction. Four cones rise from this barren floor like monuments on another planet. No tropical green, no birdsong, just silence, sulfur, and stone. The only conservation area in Indonesia with such a landscape, an alien expanse in the middle of the most densely populated island on Earth. "150 million people live on Java, the size of England. And in its eastern reaches, the land looks like Mars. South of Bromo, Mount Semeru stands as Java's highest peak at 3,676 metres. Named after Mount Meru, the cosmic mountain of Hindu-Buddhist mythology. Semeru does not rest. It sends ash plumes into the sky every 20 to 30 minutes, a rhythm so constant it becomes background. In December 2021, that rhythm broke. Pyroclastic flows raced down river valleys without warning. Dozens of people died. But the heaviest price in East Java is paid on a different mountain. Kawah Ijen. At night, sulfuric gas is escaping from fumaroles at over 600 degrees Celsius ignite on contact with air, producing electric blue flames that dance across the crater floor. The world's most consistent blue fire phenomenon. Below the flames lies the world's largest highly acidic volcanic lake, a turquoise pool with a pH of 0.2. Beautiful and lethal. Before dawn, while tourists descend the crater rim wearing rented gas masks, the sulfur miners are already at work. They carry baskets loaded with 70 to 140 kilograms of solid sulfur up steep rocky paths from the crater floor. No protective gear, no mask. The fumes corrode their lungs, their eyes, their skin. For this, they earn approximately €6 per trip. The mining has continued since the Dutch colonial era. The method has not changed. The tourists photograph them. Some of those photographs win awards. The miners keep climbing. Hundreds of thousands of visitors come to Kawah Ijen each year to witness the blue fire and the human struggle beside it. The masks the tourists wear cost more than the miners make in a day. That is the price of paradise, distilled to its most brutal form. Beauty and suffering sharing the same square metre of volcanic rock. The volcanoes built more than mountains. Their mineral-rich soil nurtured plants found nowhere else, and one of those plants changed the course of world history. A seed, the Maluku Islands, the original Spice Islands. The only place on Earth where cloves, nutmeg and mace grew wild. For centuries, these tiny volcanic islands at the eastern edge of the archipelago produced aromatics worth more than gold. European empires waged wars, sent armadas and drew maps of the world around these specks of land. In 1621, the Dutch East India Company descended on the Banda Islands to seize total control of the nutmeg trade. The method was annihilation. The indigenous Bandanese population was reduced from approximately 15,000 to just 1,000, massacred, enslaved or starved. One of the earliest documented corporate-sponsored genocides in colonial history. The price of a spice, and the trade continued. In 1667, the Dutch offered England a deal: take Manhattan to give us run. A tiny nutmeg-producing island in the Banda chain, barely visible on a map. England accepted. The island that would become New York was exchanged for a nutmeg-covered rock in the Banda Sea. Paradise, it turned out, could also be measured in other people's futures. Empires traded islands for spice. But one island trades something far more intimate every single day. In Balinese, the word Bali is said to mean sacrifice. On every doorstep, every street corner, every shrine, and there are thousands, small offerings called kanang sari appear each morning. Woven palm leaf trays filled with flowers, rice, incense, placed for gods and demons alike. The island runs on a currency of daily surrender. Bali is a Hindu island. 87% of its population practices a form of Hinduism found nowhere else, blending classical theology with animism and ancestor worship. It exists within the world's largest Muslim-majority country, a spiritual anomaly surrounded by an ocean of different faith. And the rituals extract a cost the tourist rarely sees. During Meditar, the top 6 teeth are filed down. The 6 human vices, anger, confusion, jealousy, drunkenness, desire, greed, are believed to enter through these teeth. For the first 105 days of life, a baby's feet must never touch the ground. The earth is a gateway for evil spirits. The infant is passed from relative to relative until a ceremony releases it to the soil. Once a year, during Nyepi, the entire island shuts down. The international airport closes. No lights, no fires, internet restricted. For 24 hours, paradise goes dark. The Balinese believe evil spirits will be tricked into passing over a deserted island. At Uluwatu Temple, Perched on a 70-metre cliff above the Indian Ocean, 50 to 75 men perform the Kecak fire dance at sunset. No instruments. The entire soundtrack is synchronized chanting, kak, chak, kak, building and receding like waves against the stone. Below, rice terraces cascade down hillsides in patterns unchanged for 1,000 years. The Subak irrigation system, recognised by UNESCO at Jatiluwih, channels water from sacred springs through collectively maintained canals across the island. In the highlands, Penglipuran village preserves 76 traditional homes along a single bamboo-gated road where motor vehicles are banned. But paradise, once named, becomes a target. On October 12, 2002, coordinated bombings in Kuta killed 202 people. The deadliest terror attack in Indonesian history. Yet within years, Bali rebuilt itself into one of Southeast Asia's safest destinations. The island absorbed the blow. It offered again the next morning. Sacrifice is not an event in Bali. It is the infrastructure. Bali sacrifices to keep spirits at bay. In the highlands of South Sulawesi, the sacrifice runs deeper. Here, the dead are not released, they are held. In Tanah Toraja, when a person dies, the body stays in the family home for weeks, months, sometimes years. The deceased is dressed, spoken to, offered food, treated not as a corpse, but as someone who is merely ill. Not gone, not yet. When the family can finally afford the funeral, considered the single most important event in a Torajan life, the dead are carried to cliff-faced tombs carved into limestone walls 30 metres above the valley floor. Along the rock balconies stand rows of tau, wooden effigies with eerily lifelike features, staring outward across the green valley like silent witnesses. The youngest never reached the cliffs. When a baby dies before teething, the body is placed inside a hollowed-out living tree trunk and sealed with bark. As the tree heals, it absorbs the child. The Toraja believe the infant spirit grows with the tree. They call them baby trees. Every few years, the Toraja return for Manene. Corpses are exhumed, cleaned, dressed in fresh clothes, and displayed beside their families. Photographs are taken together, then the dead are returned to their tombs. Until next time, love in Toraja is something you never stop giving, even after death. The Toraja hold their dead close. But beyond Java and Sulawesi, Indonesia hides creatures older than any human ritual, older than any civilization on the archipelago. In 1910, a Dutch colonial lieutenant stationed in the Eastern Islands heard rumours from local fishermen about a land crocodile living on an island called Komodo. He investigated. What he found was a species that had been walking the earth for nearly 900,000 years in complete obscurity from the Western world. The Komodo dragon, the largest living lizard on the planet. Up to 3 metres long, 165 kilograms. A predator that had outlasted ice ages, supervolcanos, and the rise and fall of every empire that ever claimed these waters. Today, approximately 5,700 Komodo dragons roam the islands of the national park that bears their name, a UNESCO World Heritage Site since 1991. They are not relics. They are active hunters equipped with venom glands that produce anticoagulant toxins. A single bite prevents blood clotting. The dragon does not need to overpower its prey. It bites, then follows, patiently. For days, if necessary, until the bleeding does the work. They are also cannibals. Adult dragons will eat juveniles without hesitation. The young survive by climbing trees and coating themselves in feces, a scent disguise that repels even their own kind. Survival here is not graceful, it is desperate. Around these dragon islands, the sea offers a different spectacle. Pink Beach, one of only 7 pink sand beaches in the world, gets its colour from microscopic red coral fragments mixed with white sand. From the summit of Paradar Island, 3 beaches of different coloured sand are visible at once: white, black and pink. Each created by a different geological process. Each on the same small island. The price of this paradise was invisibility. It existed because no one knew it was there. The Komodo dragon hid for 900,000 years. In the far east of the archipelago, entire civilizations remain hidden still. West Papua. 42 million hectares of unbroken forest, over a third of Indonesia's entire forested area, sheltering 54% of the nation's biodiversity. This is the edge of the known world within a country most people already consider remote. Over 250 distinct indigenous tribes live here, each with its own language, its own cosmology. The Dani of the Balian Valley were Neolithic warriors until the mid-20th century. Recognisable by their traditional penis gourds and bone piercings, they now live as subsistence farmers in one of the most isolated inhabited valleys on the planet. Many highland tribes encountered metal tools only in the last few decades. Scientists classify their traditional technology not as Stone Age, but as the Wood Age. It's a testament to extraordinary woodworking skill refined over millennia without a single forge. deep in the Mamberamo River basin called the Amazon of Papua. Uncontacted peoples still live exactly as their ancestors did thousands of years ago. No roads reach them. No maps name them. And buried within this wilderness sits Grasberg, the world's largest gold mine and the third largest copper mine. Tens of billions of dollars extracted from one of the planet's last great wildernesses. The cost of what lies beneath is paid by everything that lives above. West Papua is Indonesia's final paradox. A place where the Stone Age and the global economy occupy the same forest. What remains hidden may be Indonesia's greatest treasure. What has already been found carries a different weight. On December 26, 2004, the seafloor off the western tip of Sumatra ruptured. A magnitude 9.1 earthquake, the third largest ever recorded, tore along 1,500 kilometres of the Sunda Ocean megathrust. Tectonic plates shifted more than 20 metres in a single convulsion. The energy released was equivalent to 23,000 Hiroshima bombs. The ocean responded. Waves, reaching 35 metres, the height of a 10-storey building, struck the coast of Aceh province within 15 to 20 minutes. In some areas, the water rose to 51 metres. Flooding pushed 5 kilometres inland. Entire coastal communities ceased to exist. Across 14 countries, 227,898 people died. It remains the deadliest natural disaster of the 21st century. In Aceh alone, over 170,000 were lost, nearly 1 in every 15 people in the province. In Banda Aceh, amid the total obliteration of surrounding neighbourhoods, a single structure remains standing, the Baitur Rahman Grand Mosque. Its white domes and minarets rose from a plain of rubble. The image became a global symbol, paradise and catastrophe in a single frame. But Aceh's story does not end with the sweep. For 30 years before the tsunami, a separatist conflict had torn the province apart. The Free Aceh movement fought the Indonesian military in a war that seemed to have no resolution. Then the wave came. And in its aftermath, grief became the common ground that politics could not provide. The Helsinki Peace Agreement followed. The worst catastrophe in Aceh's history became the catalyst for its peace. Aceh had survived sultanates, colonial wars, and 3 decades of insurgency. The wave was the cruelest blow of all, and yet it became the one that finally brought silence to the guns. The wave took everything, and from everything lost, something was found. Aceh was rebuilt, but not every city gets that chance. Some prices are paid so slowly that by the time anyone notices, the bill is already too large. Jakarta, capital of Indonesia for nearly 5 centuries. Home to the old colonial quarter of Kota Tua, where Dutch-era warehouses still line canals that once carried the wealth of the spice trade. Port of Tanjung Priok, through which the commerce of 275 million people flows. The political and economic engine of the archipelago, and it is sinking. North Jakarta has descended 2.5 metres in the past decade alone. Some neighbourhoods dropping more than 25 centimetres every year. 40% of the city now sits below sea level. 13 rivers flow through Greater Jakarta, but only 4% of its sewage is treated. The rest runs through open channels into one of Asia's most polluted bays. "30 million people live in this metropolitan area on Java, the most populated island on Earth, above the grinding plates of the Ring of Fire." Models predict large sections of North Jakarta could be permanently below sea level by mid-century. In 2019, Indonesia announced the construction of Nusantara, a brand new capital on the island of Borneo, over 1,000 kilometres away. Cost $35 billion. It is in effect an admission. The 500-year-old capital is unsalvageable. Jakarta may become the first major world capital in modern history to be abandoned to the sea. The price, this time, is a city. Paid not in a single catastrophic wave, but centimetre by centimetre, year after year, until the ground simply gives way. Indonesia was not built for comfort. It was built on collision, 4 plates grinding beneath 17,500 islands, 127 volcanoes venting pressure. 250 million people living on soil made from the ash of the dead. Every temple here was buried at least once. Every coastline has a memory of water rising. Every village sits within reach of something that could end it. And yet, the miners climb Ijen before dawn. The farmers replant on Merapi's slopes after every eruption. The Balinese lay their offerings on the pavement each morning, knowing they will be stepped on by noon. The Toraja dress their dead in new clothes and pose for photographs as though nothing has changed. Borobudur stands without mortar, 12 centuries and counting, its drainage still catching the monsoon. Somewhere in Bali right now, a woman is placing a kanang sari on a doorstep that will be swept clean by noon. Somewhere on Merapi, a farmer is turning soil that was ash last season. Somewhere in Toraja, a family is dressing a grandfather who died 3 years ago in a fresh shirt for a photograph. This is what it costs. This is what it has always cost. And every morning across 17,000 islands, Indonesia opens its hands and pays again. Thanks for watching. See you soon.